Hey YouTubers, how's everything going? And as promised, I said we're going to do things on a lighter note. The video previous to this one I said was something I need to touch on and kind of get that out there. Now we're going to have a little bit more fun, but it's also kind of the controversial tale, but we'll liven it up. And what I want to talk about is I mentioned that I've talked about professional wrestling and I hadn't done it yet. Today's the day, guys. So you know what we're talking about. We're talking about the Montreal Screw Job in 1997. Now, how many of you guys know what that is? Let me break it down. Before WWE was WWE, WWF was going. The Attitude Era was going. You had Bret the Hitman Hart from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And from San Antonio, Texas, you had the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Micheals. This is the most notorious match in wrestling history. There's never been anything bigger than this. Two of my favorite professional wrestlers of all time going head-to-head and having one of the biggest mess-ups, screw jobs in wrestling entertainment history. So let's get into it. So, I know what you guys want to know. Were you Team Bret or Team Shawn? Now, here's the thing. Honestly, truthfully, realistically, Shawn Micheals has always been my favorite professional wrestler, but I love Bret Hart just as much, so I cannot pick which guy because I love them both just about the same. But when Shawn Micheals first appeared in '88 with Marty Jannetty and the Rockers, blew my mind. That was like the first time I saw him and Marty Jannetty, and they were the best thing I'd ever seen. I had Rockers posters and shirts. I mean, I was all about it. And I always said if Shawn went solo, that he had something there. As a little kid, I could see that. And, we all know what happened. He became the legend, the icon, the headliner, the showstopper, main event. He took off. And, so it's hard for me to say because I love both guys. So, and I love the excellence of execution. The best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. I love Bret Hart, and Sting was my other guy, but he was at WCW I can't say at the time. He's always been there and, more recently showed up, at WWE. But anyway, so let's go back. Time warp back to the event. So, what I'm about to say is you're going to get some fact and you're going to get some opinion from me. So, when I go into fact, I'll say fact, and when I go into opinion, I'll say opinion because I know people will be like, oh, no, that's your opinion and it's not fact. Got it. So, listen very carefully. I say, this is a fact. Fact. This is an opinion. Opinion. Okay? Everybody caught up? All right, boys and girls, let's do this. So, Bret Hart, at the time, was looking at a better contract. He wanted to stay at WWF. Vince McMahon decided, yes, but no, I'm not going to pay X amount of dollars to you. So the best thing you could do is try to get a contract with Ted Turner. Ted Turner was the owner of WCW at the time. He ran the biggest, at the time, we're talking, he had the most money out of the wrestling business. He basically went in and got the best out of the business and threw millions of dollars at them. And just said, here. Oh, before we get to that, you guys are wondering, why am I not wearing a wrestling hat and shirt? Because I haven't got one yet. I've been working on it. It's coming. Okay? I know I'm out of place, but back to it. So, Ted Turner took Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Macho Man, Lex Luger, many of guys. Outside of that company too, guys that were in Mexico, Psychosis, Juventud Guerrero, Eddie Guerrero, Chavo was there. And Chris Jericho, La Parka, Rey Mysterio, just to name a few. So he went everywhere, and got a lot of these guys. ECW guys, he took, as well. And he paid them more money than they had ever seen, and you could renegotiate your contracts. A lot of guys had that as a clause. So basically, let's say Kevin Nash is there and he's getting paid X amount of dollars. And then they bring in Lex Luger and they pay him more, and he can renegotiate his contract to almost match what Lex Luger's getting, and he could always jump in there and kind of do that, and it wasn't like he had to wait, a year or when his contract was up. He could just do it usually that day. So a lot of people were cutting in. Oh, yeah, come on down to the company because you're a big name. Okay, how much are they paying you? Okay, I'm going to renegotiate my contract to get next to what you got. See, that's what they would do. So they would bring in all these guys and go, oh, how much are they paying you? And the guy would tell them, and then they would renegotiate. So Ted Turner, just to give you guys the climate, with WCW was raking in the money, and they were the top program at the time. And WWF was actually getting hit really hard, and it looked like they may completely lose the business kind of thing. Like they didn't know how they were going to make it. So anyway, leading to Bret decided after talking to Vince, and Vince said, hey, I can't pay you that kind of money. I can't do this kind of setup. Why don't you go to Ted Turner? I'll work a deal. So I believe he was going to get don't quote me, but I believe it was like $3 to $4 million over a span of 3 to 4 years or something like that. And at that time, that was huge money. We're talking that was big money at that time. And Bret, accepted, the terms and was willing to work the contract, but he wanted to stay at the company. But anyway, here's the deal. Bret was the heavyweight champion at the time. And he did not, he knew that there had to be something, because when you leave the company, okay, how it works is when you leave, you have to relinquish your title to the next big event before you go. And they only had, I think by the time Survivor Series was in play, they had something like a couple weeks, like it was kicking off quick. So they didn't even have time to really put together anything special or work it in there. So here it is. You want to go. This is what you have to work with. All right, so here we go. So he decides, okay, fine, but he has to deal with Shawn Michaels. And the backstory real quick on those two guys was they did get along at one time, and they were very cool. But then, jealousy issues, problems started to happen. Fact first, there were fights between Bret and Shawn, verbal fights. There were a couple physical altercations in the back. And fact again, that Shawn with the Clique, which was himself, Razor Ramon, Diesel, Sean Waltman, 123 Kid, X-Pac, whichever name you want, 6-Pac, he had a couple names. They kind of had Vince McMahon in their pocket. And he kind of allowed them to get away with a lot of things. They kind of bullied people, and there was a lot of issues. And that's a proven fact on that one. A lot of people talk about that they had issues with how Shawn Michaels and his group were kind of doing things. So what led to that was once Bret and Shawn had heat, they never quieted that down. They always had problems, and it was always a lot of back and forth and, playing on this one and the other one playing on the other one. Now, opinion. What I thought was, here I get Shawn is a little cocky. He still does business by people, but there's some non-trustable thing going with him sometimes. So it's hard to kind of pinpoint if you can really do business with him, because if he's not really feeling you, he's, knocked a couple people out of the spot, because of that. Which means, he's in with Vince McMahon enough to go, I don't like him. And the guy's kind of disappeared. So, or their career has gone in another direction. So in that respect, I would say, yeah, Shawn wasn't right about that. Now, on Bret's level, what ended up happening was there was a meeting, this is a fact, between Shawn and Bret, where he says, look, I'm leaving the company, and I heard we're going to be working together for Survivor Series. I'll be professional. I know we've had our problems, but I will be nothing but professional and do the job for you without a problem. And Shawn goes to him, fact, and says, you know what? I really appreciate you coming over here and telling me that. That's great, but I will not do the same for you. Now, when you make that statement to somebody, what does that say? That when this goes down, it's not going to go down the way that you think it would. I'm not going to give you the same respect. Whether if he's just saying it because he's mad, and then when he gets in the ring, he does what's right or he does what's wrong. That leaves you uneasy about what's going to happen. So Shawn messed up on that one. That was his chance. Now, here's the thing, the third party, which is Vince McMahon himself. He just said they're going to have to work together, and here's the kick too. Bret has to give the title, has to give it up to Shawn. Now, for you guys in the wrestling business, anybody that's leaving the wrestling business has to lose and give up their title to the next guy. It's an automatic given. There can't be any way worked of it. I think Bret tried to say, well, because I have creative control, I can keep the belt and do everything I want to do with it, is one side. The other side was, since Shawn disrespected him so much, he didn't want to give Shawn the belt because he felt super disrespected by him. And until Shawn showed him that he could have that respect and be a decent, upstanding guy, he didn't want to give it up. Now, that made a whole nother situation. Right or wrong, on the ethical part, Vince McMahon still has a business to run, so they can't really play patty cake with each other over this. Something's got to be done. This is where Vince messed up. Vince just allowed them to kind of peck at each other. If I were Vince McMahon, opinion, here's how it would have gone. Ready? Here we go. I would have said, look, you two, you got to get it together. Either you guys work together or we're bringing in other people, which means since Bret is leaving the company, he has to be in the match. So if you and Shawn can't get along, it really relies on Shawn. Okay? So, Shawn, you don't want to play ball? Okay, fine. We'll put Stone Cold in the slot. We'll put Undertaker in the slot. Okay? Problem fixed. So, Shawn, you don't go to the pay-per-view and you don't become the heavyweight champion. You got to wait till later, if I decide to give it to you, depending on your attitude. Okay? So either Undertaker or Stone Cold will give it. Now, Bret, can you work with those guys? Absolutely. He gets along with Undertaker, gets along with Stone Cold. They've had some of the best matches, the tightest of friends. Not a problem. That would have eliminated that problem right there. But the problem was, realistically, was Vince McMahon not stepping up and using that backbone of his, and just going, look, either you and Shawn work it out in a day or two, and after that, if that doesn't happen, Undertaker or Stone Cold is getting the belt. And Bret will lose the title to them, and they'll leave. And if Shawn behaves himself and goes about it the right way, maybe I'll pass the heavyweight championship over to him. But where Vince McMahon messed up was that he just allowed Shawn and Bret to have at it, and it went chaotic. So when the match happened, he knew at that point, because like I said earlier, Bret said he's not dropping it to him because he doesn't respect him. And then Shawn saying, I'm not doing that for you because I don't like you, kind of thing. Well, you got two situations. So they get together with Shawn and Triple H, and Earl Hebner, who was the referee, is told, I think they told him actually when this was happening, was going to happen at the match. They got to him later, if I remember right. Could be wrong, but I think that's what happened with him. But as far as Triple H, Shawn, Vince, they had pre-planned that they were going to have, Shawn put Bret in the sharpshooter, which is, Bret's signature move. And as he's doing it, they're going to ring the bell like Bret tapped, and then Shawn's just going to win the belt and be the champion. They kind of set up something like that. And Bret didn't know about it. He didn't know anything. Well, Vince messed up. This is fact, not opinion, is that he told him, yeah, we're going to do whatever you want to do. So he's thinking, we're going to do this match where me and Shawn go head to head, and then some sort of disqualification, and Triple H runs to the ring, tries to interfere, then the Hart Foundation clique tries to interfere, and this is his whole mess of snaz going on, and then we'll, I don't know, give it a disqualification. Nobody knows what happened, and then the next night or something like that, I'll relinquish the title and say that I'm leaving or something like that, is what he was going to do. So Vince agreed to it. In a short summary, Vince agreed to it. So he's agreeing to two different things. He's going to do the screw job, but he's also agreed to Bret. You cannot double dip on both ends, okay? Because it's going to go down, so you might as well pick one side, because it's not going to play out nice. And as we all know, it did not play out nice. The sharpshooter happened, wasn't even fully locked on him, anything, wasn't any pain. Bret's just, getting his legs turned around, and the bell rings, and they give it to Shawn. And, of course, Bret immediately knows he just got screwed out of the heavyweight title. And he's now leaving the company, losing to Shawn with the disrespect and everything like that, and it's not playing out good. So, we all know later on in that locker room, Vince confronts Bret, and Bret ends up, kind of knocking him out behind the scenes, and he goes on to WCW, and when he goes to WCW, they don't really use him in the ways that they should, because at the time, Bret the Hitman Hart was the hottest wrestler at the time. He had the most heat. He had that Montreal Screw Job thing on him. He had everybody trying to get at him. So it was kind of like they had him, but they didn't know what to do with him. Now, I will say he did have some of the most incredible matches there. He worked with Sting, which was something we all wanted to see, the Scorpion Deathlock versus the Sharpshooter. He worked with Booker T. That was amazing. He worked with Lance Storm, which was fantastic. I love Lance Storm. He worked with Chris. I hate to say it. I know it's going to bring a lot of people. Chris Benoit. Chris, he definitely did that. Dean Malenko. He worked with a lot of technician wrestlers, which is his style. And those guys were always my favorites to see. I like Chris Jericho as well, who also came from his dad's school. So a lot of these guys, Benoit, Benoit, Lance Storm, Chris Jericho, they all came from the dungeon. So you got this really cool style of wrestling going on, and they had Bret, who's hot as hot could get, and they didn't really use him correctly. They gave him some things to play with, and some of that, all this stuff turned out really cool, but compared to what they really could have done with them, we look at like Hulk Hogan, or Hollywood Hogan at the time, he got the title, the push, and everybody that rolled with him was taken care of. So to be fair about it, they should have done the same thing with Bret, and Bret could have done much more than Hogan, because, we all know Hogan's a little stiff, and what I mean is, he's not an agile wrestler. He's kind of like slam me a few times in the leg drop. Bret Hart could really tell a story, and he could really get down in the ring and really do some cool stuff. So it was like, well, yeah, use him and get your money's worth. But they didn't, and then shortly after that, that's when the stroke happened, when Goldberg blasted him in the head, and then later on, due to the injury, he ended up having a stroke, and then he couldn't wrestle anymore. And I don't think, because of the injury coming in the way that it did, I think he only got some of that money. I don't think he got all of it, because he didn't fulfill the contract because he had gotten injured. Even though it was another wrestler in the ring, and how is he going to help that from happening? You can't help that. It's just, it's going to happen. So all in all, like I said, the Montreal Screw Job shouldn't have happened. Shouldn't have happened that way. Like I said, Vince just should have put his foot down and said, if you guys can't grow up and figure it out, I'll figure it out for you. Okay? Which means putting another wrestler in that slot, taking Shawn out, putting Undertaker, Stone Cold in. And Shawn, he'll just have to deal with that. It's either, hey, you become the heavyweight champion right now, or you wait your turn. You take your pick. But like I said, I'm a fan of both guys, but man, that feud was nasty, man. And Bret was seriously disrespected in front of the whole world, and I never liked how that went out or how people got to view him on his way leaving the company. It was never a good look for him. So the Montreal Screw Job. Wow, what a story! It really changed the world of wrestling. It really shook everything up. And till this day, it still kind of does. In so many ways. But we all know that Bret and Shawn have made up and made amends, and he and Vince McMahon have made up and made amends, and I think he and Earl Hebner have made amends. So everybody that was involved, exception to Triple H, like Bret Hart and Triple H just do not get along. That ain't happening. Outside of that, everybody else has made up for it, and they're all cool with each other now. But what a piece of business, to have all that stuff going on and to have it really just mess up your career, in the way that it did for Bret, was never a good move. The way his career went out was not cool. Shawn Michaels was very fortunate, though, because he broke his back and he got a fused, and then he wrestled another 10, 15 years. That's amazing. So, I guess it just really depends, on what you think. But the facts, they don't lie. And those are the facts. Like when you look at the picture and then it's like all Vince had to do was just put somebody else in that slot. It would have worked out just fine. But it didn't, and that's just kind of what it is. So there we go, guys. The Montreal Screw Job between Bret the Hitman Hart and the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. And I just want to say God bless Bret Hart, and may he eventually just, I don't know. I can't really say that because they kind of fulfilled, doing some things for him. But at this point, I just say God bless him because I think everything evened out. He got back on the channels, merchandise is going. So I think everything evened out for him. And, I just, I like I said, I was a big fan of both guys, and it was just really sad to see that situation go down the way that it did. So yeah, that's my story on those two guys in the Montreal Screw Job, and it's the best that wrestling had to offer. And it's really sad that when you look at a lot of the wrestlers of the time, a lot of them have passed away, on top of it. So, rest in peace, Hart Foundation, because Bret's the only one that's left. All the other guys are gone. And that's really sad. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Write something in the comments, subscribe, let me know what's going on and what other conversations you guys want to get into. All right, this is Drew Danger. D's for Danger. Out.